From day one, we are told who we should be, how to live, and what's acceptable. Before we even have a chance to discover ourselves, our society has already drawn those lines for us. But what happens when those lines are keeping us from knowing and embracing who we truly are? Welcome to Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, a podcast about unpacking and unlearning everything that's kept you from living as your true self. Through honest conversations about your internal emotional landscape, sexuality, coming out later in life, relationships, and the journey to self-acceptance, we break free from the boxes we never chose. Hi, everybody. So today on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox, I have one of my late blooming best friends, Kim, here with me. And we are going to talk about just some of the struggles and things that we went through over the last many years as friends, both of us coming out later after marrying a man, having kids, and being friends through this whole journey, and really just kind of explore the different areas that maybe some of you will resonate with. I want to welcome Kim. Hello, Kim.
Hello.
Hello. It's so lovely to have you here with me. What a treat.
It's very fun to be here with you.
Yay. So Kim and I have known each other through a mutual friend, someone that both of us were friends with for longer than we've known each other. And Kim and I became close friends starting in 2014 when we were on a trip together to, were we in Seattle? Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. We went to Seattle to this friend's daughter's wedding. And then we went on a trip after that together and we became friends on that trip. And we have been fast friends ever since. And I thought it might be helpful for you, Kim, to give a brief introduction to a little bit about your story.
I was about 35 when I started the whole coming out process. I mean, I guess we could go back a lot further than that. But, it's the knowing and then the coming out sometimes are two very different things, as
Yes.
we all know. So I was married when I was 24. And then push that beach ball right down under the water for a good long time until it popped right back up. And then there it was. So we had to deal with that. It wasn't going back under. So I started coming out around 35. I had 2 children at that time.
How old
When
were your
this
kids at that time?
They were in elementary school, one in very early elementary school and one in later elementary school. So they were still pretty young.
So you were
But
married for how long?
I was married for, I would say, about 10 years before this process really started. And, but until I was fully out of the marriage, it was 15 years. So,
Okay. So by the time you were actually divorced, is that what you mean?
correct. By the time I was actually divorced, it was 15 years. So it was like a process, a real long process. Um, we both knew what was going on. And it just took us a while to get where we needed to go. So,
Okay. And I don't remember this myself. When the beach ball came back up and popped back up, were you, had you met somebody that you had feelings for, or was this just like an awareness that you had about yourself?
I think it was a little bit of both. It was an awareness that never went away. Um, because I grew up in the evangelical church, like this was like a no-go. So, but then there was somebody I met, not in a relationship with, but somebody I was like, okay, we're still here and this is still where so there was a catalyst, in that, but not a catalyst as in I'm going to be in a relationship with this person, but like, it just
Oh,
brought
wait.
it all roaring up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So fast forward, you got divorced,
Hmm.
you moved into your own place, the
Yes.
kids went back and forth. Okay. Yeah. So I know when you and I met, well, we had met a couple of times before that, and I know that you had been with a partner then. And
Yes.
then when you and I finally became friends, I was dating, gosh, I was dating somebody that I was dating for 3 months that was really just so sorry, but awful, just so awful. I don't know if you remember that. It was this person was an attorney and it was
Oh
just,
yeah.
you remember? Yeah. Oh
I
my,
do remember. I remember that. I was like, who are you talking to?
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I think what happened for us was we really connected. We're
Hmm.
both therapists, right?
Yep.
And we really
Yep.
started to understand each other and just really feel like it was like like you were just a really good person to bounce stuff off of.
Hmm.
Um, that I don't know, like we just really clicked. We really connected.
Yeah.
And there were some issues that were repetitive for me
Okay.
after I came out, right? There were things that I just kept bumping up against. And it was kind of like, who do I talk to about this?
Hmm.
Who would understand what I'm feeling right now? Right. And those things
Right.
still happen even today. And I'm like, oh, Kim, like Kim is the person who's going to understand. Right. I still have that today.
Right.
So one of the things that I thought would be interesting to talk about, and for any of you out there that also came out after being, partnered or married, um, and have young children, there was this thing that I kept bumping up against. So when I came out, when I finally got divorced, I was 35. No, sorry, I was 30. It took 3 years. I was 36 when I finally got divorced. So we're probably around the same age.
Yeah.
And I was with a catalyst that I had fallen for while I was married. And so I was in the relationship with this person for a number of years, 8 years altogether. And this person became like part of my family. So they moved in with
Hmm.
me after I moved out of the marital home. They were like another co parent to my kids for the years we were together. And they also had no kids of their own. And this person was
Hmm.
6 years younger than me. And so I didn't really think about any of this stuff when I met this person. I didn't think about any of this until she and I ended. And
Hmm.
then I was 40, I think, and I was like 39 or 40, and I was for the first time a single lesbian out in the world.
Hmm.
And so for the first time, I'm like a mother, right? And I'm building my career
Yeah.
and I'm so busy. And I'm also, there were apps at that time. So I was like starting on the apps and looking for somebody to date.
Hmm.
And I was trying to figure out, I've dated somebody who didn't have any kids. And there was a period that we went through where this person thought that they wanted to have a child while we were together, like in the future. This person also wanted to get married, right? And I was
Hmm.
in so much trauma from my divorce. So, besides the fact I had three very young kids and I had a lot of trauma from my divorce, the last thing I wanted was to get married or to have another child with somebody else. And so, that was just part of some of the rub for the two of us. But we ended, and once we ended, it was kind of like, does it make sense to date someone who has kids? Will there be more understanding of my life and
Hmm.
my situation and someone who's a mother and knows what this is like? And so I did end up dating somebody. So this was just sort of the natural flow of things, right? Here I am. I'm a single lesbian in the world, living in New York City. I'm taking care of my three kids most of the time. They're going back and forth. And I start dating somebody who does have kids. And I'm with that person for 3 years. And over the course of that 3 years, what I realize is I actually don't want any more kids. So
Hmm.
while I really loved this person, and felt very close to them, I did not feel the capability of having two more kids added to my three kids. And when I didn't have my kids, having to parent kids that were my partner's kids. And I just didn't want any of that. And that became a rub between us.
Mhm.
And after 3 years, we broke up. And it was this question that I remember calling you and saying to you, like, can we just talk this through? Like, who am I to date? Am I to date people with kids or am I to date people without kids? I cannot figure this out. And I felt very, I don't know if you remember, but like, I felt very like
Mhm.
screwed over somehow in
Yeah.
this whole thing. I was like, this is so fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
how do I do this? Like, I want to live my gayness, but like, what kind of partner should I have? So I guess, yeah, I'm curious if you remember that and like what came up for you around that. And
I do remember that. And it's so funny to hear you kind of like lay out that timeline of your first partner, because that is very similar to what happened to me. Like my first partner after being divorced and on my own, I was with that person who had no children for 8 years.
okay,
So by the time we broke up, like my oldest son was off to college and my youngest son was like starting high school. And so, and then it was like exactly the question you're asking, like, now what do I do? Like, who am I going to date? You know, like once you get over that, right? It's like, do I want more kids in my life? Don't I want more kids? Like you and I had more than one conversation about this,
yeah,
like trying to sort out, like you at one point, me at another point, like, what are we doing here?
yes, multiple times.
Yeah, no, it just cycles. But anyway, um, but I think this was a really hard question. And like, to be honest, I'm a little afraid to talk about it because I have feelings about it that make me, I think, make me feel like maybe I'm selfish. But like, I realized after dating some people with kids, um, like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. Like, first of all, my kids were older. I like at that point, I did not want to deal with some other children in my life. Not that they were somebody else's children necessarily, but like you also have two different parenting styles coming together here. You know, no two parents are the same, right? So that adds like a whole fun element to your relationship.
Hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I was like, I landed on no, and then I did it anyway. And then I landed on no, and then I did it anyway again. So, like, you know, like I'm a slow learner. Like, I kept thinking, maybe I am that person. Maybe I can do this. Like,
Did you want to be that person? Was there like some part of you that was uncomfortable with seeing yourself as somebody who was unable to,
mhm,
embrace a partner and kids and like kind of do that big Brady Bunch happy family thing? Like, was there some part of you that was sort of pushing you to just keep trying it because, well, as women, we're really supposed to be able to be nurturing and loving till the end of time, and we're never supposed to
right.
be selfish and think about ourselves and our own needs. We're just supposed to take care of other people. So I'm just wondering if you're doing it and then realizing it didn't work and then doing it again.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Like I wanted to be that person that could be like, no, I got this. Like I love the children. Like we can make this work, you know, like, and it was never about who the people were, what kind, you know what I mean? It was just about it wasn't working for me. It wasn't real. It wasn't what I wanted. And I had a very, very hard time owning that,
Yeah.
owning that I don't want this. I
Yeah.
don't want to date somebody with children. I don't want to be with somebody with children. Like that just felt like everything I wasn't supposed to be,
Yeah.
you know? And whatever fill in the blank, whatever that I thought that made me selfish, inflexible. Like we could go on and on with all the adjectives, but like it was just I just thought I should be able to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe I could have, but it certainly wasn't what I wanted. And because it wasn't what I wanted, I wasn't ever going to do it well, you know? And so, but it's hard. It's even still a little hard. Like I said a few minutes ago, it's like a little hard to admit that, you know, like I'm, I'm afraid
Yeah.
of what people are going to think of me or whatever, but it's the truth. And
Yeah.
that, I know it's not the same for everybody. Like, there are people out there who are like about it. They can do it. It works. It's beautiful. It's probably hard work,
Hmm.
at a lot of junctures. But as it turns out, I wasn't one of those people.
Hmm.
And that's okay. Like, that's really, really okay.
Yeah.
So, how
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah. I mean, so, I grew up in a blended family
Mm-hmm.
where my brother was my mother's child from her first marriage. Both my parents were
Mm-hmm.
married before they got married and had me. So
Mm-hmm.
my brother came in and he was 6 years older than me, but he came into my parents' marriage
Okay.
but he still had a father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was my father and my mother who were my parents, but my brother's father would come visit and take him sometimes for the weekend or come and spend some time at our house. And there was so much tension in my house growing up and so
Uh,
much chaos around my brother with my parents and, just a lot of feelings about this
mhm.
being a blended family. And that was, I think it was like, I think that in and of itself was so traumatic for me. I mean, I think growing up in a family where like I was always just so confused about everything going on in my family. Like I was like, why are these people married to each other? Like, why does she love him? Like, why
Uh,
they both work full time? Why? Like I'd just stand in the kitchen as like a 4-year old and like watch my mother run around to get dinner on the table, but she also just got back from work. And it was
yeah.
like everything had to be perfect for him when that garage door opened, that we all had to be like ready and sit down and have like and she had to get it ready. And I just was always like, what is happening? Like why do people do this? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do whatever they're doing. I don't want any part of that. So I think there was always this kind of questioning about relationships work for me, families work for me, which I think is why I ended up
Mhm.
becoming a therapist. I mean, I
Yeah.
was always curious about this, but the blended family piece for me is so, I mean, I feel like it's so complicated and you're right. Some people they really do it and they bring their kids together from two different families, from two different marriages or partnerships or whatever it is, and they bring their kids together and the kids
Mhm.
have new siblings. And I mean, I, it's like I feel like I have an allergic reaction to that, but I think that a lot of that I
Mhm.
think also really has to do with my upbringing.
Yeah.
And also then being actually a single woman with 3 kids that I'm parenting a lot of the time on my own while I'm going back to school, while I'm building up my business and a career.
Mhm.
The idea of then having, because my kids were a handful and my ex-husband was a handful, and then having to add on another person and what their kids were going through, and especially somebody like my second girlfriend who had kids. She also had married a man, and
Mhm.
so she had her divorce, so her kids had all of that trauma from that they were dealing with. And so it was like too much for me to handle. Like I just, so anyway, I think partially it was too much for me to handle. Partially, I just really didn't want it. Like this second partner of mine, she wanted like to be the Brady Bunch. She wanted to get like a big
Mhm.
car, have all 5 kids in the back, and have us ride around. I was like, I do not want that. Like when my
Yeah.
kids are with their dad, I want to do whatever the hell I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like 40, so I wasn't like menopausal where you like, there's a lot of talk these days about like perimenopause and menopausal women who are just like, we don't give a fuck anymore what you think about us.
Right.
This was prior to that. But
Yeah.
I just was like, this is not me. This is not what I want. And I'm not going to go into something. I already did that once, went into something
Mhm.
I didn't want to really. And I'm not going to do it
Yeah.
again. When I got married, where I was just like
Right.
kind of
Right.
shut down. So, Yeah, so I think that that this is something that people do it well, and also it is a lot of work. And then I think
Mhm.
as women, being with other women, there is this expectation that society has,
Mhm.
because we're women, that we're going to want that and we're going to embrace that and we're going to just run with it and be like amazing parents. And I mean, in the perfect world, like, how beautiful would that be? I mean, yeah, if that were the case and I felt that way, sure, I would love to do that, but I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
And so then it became, okay, well then maybe I need to date people who don't have kids, right? So there was this constant like there would be like every couple years I'd call Kim and I'd be like, okay, so the with kids, that didn't work.
Right.
So now I met this person that doesn't have kids. So I
Hmm.
think I'm gonna like try this out now.
Right.
And then for me, there would be like problems also with the person that didn't have kids.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God, like, what do I do? How do I do this? Like, how does this work? And it was I mean, it was really like, it was a conundrum. And I just remember like how many times I called you to have these conversations. And it
Right.
was like this stuck place that I could not figure out for myself.
Because like all the relationships have issues, right? Like no matter what, they're going to have stuff we got to work through. But like, but when you think about the kid part of it, like that's like a whole nother layer on top of the issues that two humans are going to have just because they're two different humans, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of like, do I want just normal human issues, or do I want normal human issues plus the kid issues, right? And that's where, you know like I feel like you very early on, because of how you were predisposed to family and how you experienced it, you were like, I'm trying this, but I know I don't want to do this. Like, which is interesting, right? It's like, um, but yeah, I mean, and I love what you said about women feeling like because we're women dating women, we should be like, yes, of course, we've got this, and it just doesn't work like that for everybody. It just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Right. Like you can't generalize that just because you're dating a woman and a woman
Right.
that has kids, that she wants more kids and wants to do a blended family. And there will be some who do and who might,
Uh-huh.
and there also will be some that don't want that. And so
Yeah.
it does really create a dilemma.
Yep. It
So
does.
how did you kind of, you said, so you had a partner for 8 years who had no kids, then you
Mhm.
ended up with someone who had kids, then you
Mhm.
did that again, and
Mhm.
then what happened after that?
And now I am married to somebody without kids. And it's beautiful. Now my kids are adults, they're full on grown ups. Um, but I will say, like, I just to backtrack a little bit, like, one of the things that I think really drove this all home for me was the decision to date somebody without kids wasn't just about me. In both the circumstances where I was with somebody with kids, I also watched it and how things were going with how it impacted my kids. And like I could not like put that mama bear away. Like my primary responsibility was to be their mom, and I'm not going to protect them from the world, and like there's lots of things that they needed to be exposed to and manage and figure out, like, so I'm not that kind of mama bear, but like I also could see how in these certain circumstances this was actually not good for my own children. And so sometimes it is about us and what works for us and what doesn't work for us, but sometimes it's okay to like to factor in what works for our kids and what doesn't. And that was a big issue for me too.
Mm.
So at the end of the day, after you know making some decisions that weren't the best for all of us, I married a great person who loves my adult children and thinks of them as her own and spoils them and their puppies. And, like she's great and it's perfect for us. But it was a road to get there, man. It was a lot of figuring it out. And that's not easy. Um, but but I did it, you know, I did it. So, I don't want to do it again, but I got there. So,
Yeah. And is there, in terms of your current spouse, was there a period when you were early in the relationship where, that she had never had kids and that you had kids, that there was any sort of tension around you being a mother, you being a parent, like how you parented, like, I don't know, just, when we're parents, and especially, when we've been like single parents, like we have relationships with our kids when we're raising our kids that can be, I don't know, just different than when kids are raised in a home with two parents that are always there. And I know with my kids, I had different kinds of relationships with them because I was basically living with them just myself. And another piece that I know you and I have talked about. So I'm asking two questions here. So the first question is that one about
mhm,
your current partner, and if there was ever like a rub or just like
mhm.
did you guys have to like figure it out kind of thing, even though she didn't have kids? That's question one. And then question two is, well, I guess related, is just like I also had this clause in my separation agreement where I was not basically allowed to live with a partner if I wanted to receive the support that I was getting. And so it became,
Mhm.
for me, because my kids were so young, it became 17 years
Wow.
of not being able to live with a partner,
Mhm.
until my youngest child was 22. If I did, I would jeopardize, at that point, it wasn't much support, but it was still some support that I needed while I was getting on my feet, and living in New York City. And so, that was just another element. And I don't know if you can relate to that too. So those are two separate questions.
I'm going to answer the second question first.
Okay.
So I had the same clause, like I could not live with a partner or anyone. Cohabitate was the word they used in my agreement, or I would lose spousal support. And to be honest, it was a in the back of my head. But the partner I was with, we kind of lived in two places. Like she lived in the city, I lived outside the city where my kids went to school. So we kind of really came to this place where we just had like a city house and a country house is what we called them. And so it really worked. And so it was something I thought about, but it never became an issue inside that relationship.
Okay.
And by the time that was over, as that relationship was ending, my spousal support was ending. So it never became like a huge issue for me.
Okay.
Um, but I know it is for a lot of people. The question about the rub with my wife is, first of all, like it's so interesting for me to talk about this with you because it makes me really think about what an amazing job she has done. Because anybody I've ever seriously dated has said to me, um, breaking into the bond that is you and your two sons is very hard.
Hmm.
And my kids will say the same thing. They're like, "Yeah, good luck." I mean, like we were a unit,
Yes.
very tight, and we're still very close. But they are adults and having their own life, whether I like that or not. It's good for them. It's what they're supposed to do. But I think it's intimidating for people, and she was not intimidated by that. As a matter of fact, we got together. We started living together and got married in December of 2019. And then COVID hit. And my youngest son was in college, so he had to come home to where I lived with my now wife. My oldest son and his then girlfriend, they had to pick a place where they were going to live. So instead of picking one of their two apartments, they actually picked our house. So within just a few months of us being married, we had my kids and a girlfriend living in our home with us.
Wow.
And um, it was fabulous, to be honest. I mean, that could have been a nightmare, and it wasn't. It was great, and she embraced it, and she like just put her arms around the whole situation. And I think it was really hard for her at times, but like we talked it through. It was just different. Her home had been a place, because I moved into her home, had been a place where she had taken care of her parents. And like, so now it's like a whole new family coming in,
Yeah.
that isn't exactly hers yet, but became hers because of those circumstances. So, um, but is there a rub sometimes? A little bit, but more of the breaking through the wall of the bonds that I have with my kid, and not feeling intimidated by them, not feeling left out by them, understanding that that's a parent-child bond, which is very different than the bond I had with her with my as my wife, or that she will have with my children
Right.
as an important human in their lives. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, that doesn't mean that other relationships there was not a rub. But in this particular one, no, no rub.
I love that.
Teeny tiny rubs, little baby rubs.
Yeah. Yeah. Just stuff to work through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I
I
think,
got really lucky.
yeah. Yeah. Yes, you did. You got a gem.
I did.
I think also, and we can end on this note, but I think the other thing that I just want to say out loud is something that I've noticed, um,
Mhm.
you know, around in, floating around in relationships
Mhm.
is this idea. And I even did a whole podcast episode on this particular word, which is expectation.
Ah. Mhm.
And I just want to say for anyone out there who is in a position like I was in or that Kim was in, um, that has kids and you're dating and you're looking for a partner, really check in with your expectation
Mhm.
around what you think is going to happen, what you want to happen, what you expect to happen, how you expect it's going to be, how you expect this person is going to show up. Um, and check in with that, in that don't allow that to just go as like something that is unsaid. And I'm not saying to like sit this person down and be like, here are my 5 expectations of what I want from you in this relationship. But when those expectations of, for example, you have a young child and now you're single and you have a new partner, and you expect this new partner is going to become a co-parent with you, and you expect that this person is going to want to live with you pretty quickly and take on co-parenting with you, and you expect that that already, but you haven't talked about that with them. And then when they aren't ready to jump in yet, 6 months into the relationship, 1 year into the relationship, they're still kind of keeping some space for
Mhm.
themselves. You are like, this is not what I expected, and I mean, this person doesn't know what you expected. And you need to be able to have a conversation about what you would like, how you would like things to progress. Is this person also thinking that they would like that too? What are your needs around that? What are their needs around that? But try just to enter this space not from a space of, relationship escalator expectations. This is the way it's going to be, this is how it's going to play out, without actually having an open conversation with them, because those expectations are going to really bring out a lot of difficulty in the relationship. That's just a piece that I just think is like so important to say, especially in this area, because as a parent and how much you love your kids and how important your family is to you, that when somebody new is coming in, it's just really important to actually communicate with them about what you want and need and would like, as opposed to just keeping those expectations to yourself and then they fail, or they disappoint you. And they didn't even really have a chance because they never knew what you wanted. So say it, you know? I don't know if there's anything there that you want to add to that.
I think that's so right on. That's such a good and important thing to say around this topic, as well as many, many others, obviously. But like, yeah, get your expectations in check and share your expectations. Um, we get ourselves in a lot of trouble by not doing that. So, So important. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
stuff.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for being one of my closest friends that I could call at any moment of the day with one of my dilemmas about what do I do now? What
Oh,
is happening
likewise.
here?
Likewise. This friendship is so important to me, and everybody needs it, Samantha, I got to tell you. So I'm blessed to have you and happy to be here.
Aw,
So,
well, love
yes,
you. Thanks for coming on the show.
love you.
Okay, talk
Thank you.
soon. Bye, Kim.
Bye.
Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps more folks find these conversations. If you're ready to unbox from something that's keeping you stuck, I would love to support you. You can find the application to the show at unboxyoursexuality.com. Let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Lesbian Curiosity Coach. Give me a follow and join the conversation. Remember, we only have this one time through. Why not unbox yourself and let your true self